Hey students, Tim here once again from Lessons on the Web, and today what we're talking about is hearing the differences between four main types of chords, the most common types of chords that you will hear in music. These include major chords, minor chords, diminished chords, and augmented chords. We've talked about these chords before, but today I'm going to tell you how to train your ears so that you can hear them, because if you learn to hear these well, you'll really be able to correct your own playing and just really have a better understanding on how music is supposed to sound in general. So let's not waste any time as always, and let's get right to the lesson. If you know what these chords look like on the piano, what I'll have you do is, before I ask you what the answer is, I'll have you close your eyes, which is kind of strange, but if you know what they look like, you have to look away from the keyboard. It only works like that, because that'll be cheating otherwise. So let's get right onto the lesson here. So we're going to just talk about major chords first, and talk about the sounds of major chords. So here's just a major chord, D major. Now, let me play an octave lower. How does that chord sound to you? What kind of emotion or what kind of idea do you associate with that chord? Now, what every other teacher says, and I included, say, the chord sounds bright and happy. It doesn't sound sad. In contrast, that would be the minor, which we'll talk about in a second. So it has a brighter sound. Sometimes if you arpeggiate the chord, you get an even more like it's easier to hear that that's major, in my opinion. A lot of students who I train in ear training as well find it a little bit easier if I play them in arpeggio sometimes when they're first starting out. But all major chords will sound happy no matter where they are. Now what tends to happen is, as you listen to chords lower and lower on the keyboard, it gets harder and harder to tell whether they're major or minor. I mean, I can still tell right there, but what if I move it down to the bottom octave? It gets a lot harder. It's because those notes get really muddy down there. Same thing up here. I mean, I can hear those differences, but it gets harder and harder as you move up. So when you're ear training, you always want to stick to the middle of the piano. So just remember that major chords sound bright and happy. Contrasting to that is the minor chord, which sounds sad. Notice how when I arpeggio, you can really hear the difference. Here's the major one. There's the minor coming in. It really makes you feel sad. It's been raining a lot where I live, so it's perfect for today. But anyway, so we're just going to listen for the differences between major chords and minor chords. So here is your first chord. If you would please look away or close your eyes and don't look at the keyboard as I play the chord. So here we go. I'm going to play it, and then you're going to tell me or think about what chord it might be. So what do you think? Now think about it for a little bit. Don't look at the keyboard just yet. Does that sound happy to you, or does it sound sad? Now, you may have answered happy, right? But let me play the opposite for you. Ah, there we go. Notice how that one sounded much brighter. So the original one I played is minor. So when you first do these, if you do these with a teacher, probably the best thing they can do is play them back to back first, so then you can hear the differences. And then after a while, after you practice a few sessions, you'll be able to hear these chords just, one at a time. You may be able to already, but some of us don't pick it up quite as fast. Some of us pick up your training quite slow. I at first picked it up really slow, and you just have to persevere until you get it. Okay, actually, don't look at the screen again. Okay, what kind of chord do you think that is? Do you think it's major or minor? What if I play it in an arpeggio? What do you think? Well, it certainly sounds major, right? It has that bright and happy to it. Contrasting, I'll let you hear that. Notice how, oops, it has a sadder quality to it. Let's try just a few more of these major and minors. Here is another one. So look away from the keyboard again, or close your eyes. Here comes the chord we're going to talk about. Let me play it again. Now, what do you think? Major or minor? Well, does it sound sad to you? Well, let me play the opposite. Ah, that one is the sadder one, right? Therefore, this one has to be, you can look at the keyboard now, has to be a major chord. And specifically, that's a B major chord. Now, we are going to just test on 2 more, I think. So look away from the keyboard now. What do you think? Do you think that's a major chord or minor chord? Think about it. Write it in the comments, of course, if you want to. If I play it like that, sounds pretty minor to me, because that would be major, and there's our minor there. Okay, one more. Look away from the keyboard one more time. What do you think? I would say that's major, right? So how'd you do? Were you with me, or did you like hear things differently than I said, and then when I played the other one you're like, oh, now it makes sense. Just think about how you did, and that's really your starting point in learning how to ear train. Like, some people will get this right away. They'll think I'm actually going way too slow, but some people will think I'm going way too fast, because there's a huge difference I've found with how students pick up ear training. Some of them pick it up very, very well. There's a lot of students in the middle, has how things go. And then there are some students that take, and it's a good number of students too. If you take longer to learn ear training, it doesn't mean anything is wrong with you. There are a lot of music students out there, and it doesn't mean that you can't learn it. Just stick with it, and you'll get it soon. So let's talk about our next type of chord here. Right? Pretty unsettling, I would say, is the sound. Uneasiness, very tense and sinister, I would say. It's like the train is coming, and it's coming to get you. You're on the tied on the railroad tracks, and that's how I describe that chord. What kind of chord is that? That chord is the diminished chord. The diminished chord is sinister, scary, tense. It just isn't very pleasant to listen to. So the hard part about this one is when you listen for the 3 types of chords we have talked about so far: major, minor, and diminished. Major, the difference between major and the other 2 is very easy to hear. However, a lot of students struggle with minor and diminished. And why is that? Well, you can look at the keyboard for sure. Well, they're only 1 note different. Like, minor is D, F, A, or if I was playing D minor, sorry. D diminished would be D, F, A flat. There's only 1 note difference. Know that the word diminished means to make smaller. So you're making the chord smaller. So if the notes sound more clustered together, then you're talking about a diminished chord probably, rather than a minor. But chances are in the beginning you will mistake minor for diminished. That's just the way it goes. You'll have to continue practicing those until you got it mastered. So here we go. There's a diminished, right? Ew, it's unsettling. Let me test you on one. Now you have to look away from the keyboard. Let me ask you what you think. So I'm going to play a chord. What do you think? I'll only play it maybe 2 octaves. That'll help you fill out the sound more. Is it major, minor, or diminished? Would you say that that is a sinister sound or a dark, scary sound? I wouldn't think so, right? What about sad? Not so much. I would say it's a happy chord, therefore it is a major chord. Now let's try another one. It's going to get a little trickier now. So look away from the keyboard once again. What is that, right? Does it make you feel settled? Does it make you feel calm? Definitely not. If it made you feel calm, it'd probably be closer to major. This, right? It makes you feel uneasy a bit. So that is going to be a diminished chord. Now let me try another one. So look away once again. What about that? Well, does it sound happy? Not really. Does it sound scary though? Or does it just sound sad, right? That's so hard to hear, right? We're like, well, it definitely has a darker sound to it. I can hear that. But I really can't hear the difference between the minor and the diminished. How am I going to hear that difference? Well, there it is, right? You can definitely hear it when I play the one after the other. So the first one was minor. It had a dark sound to it, but it wasn't quite tense like that and scary, sinister. So here we go. Let me play a couple more for you. Look away from the keyboard once again. That's the key for today. What do you think? Major, minor, or diminished? Well, it's certainly not uplifting and happy, right? So, but does it make you feel tense? Not really. So it has to be minor. And there we go. So that's how you hear the difference. You know, first you really want to ask yourself when you hear a chord, so you can look for this one. Sorry about that. Itchy nose with the allergies. But anyway, so let's... The first thing you want to do, that's where I was going with this. First thing you want to do when you hear a chord is ask yourself, does it sound happy or sad? It sounds happy, so it has to be major. Now, does it sound happy or sad? It definitely sounds more sad. And then once you get to that point, go one step further and say, all right, is it sad? Or is it tense or not tense? Well, it makes me feel a bit tense, right? So that has to be diminished instead of minor. So just go through that decision tree in your mind. Is it happy or sad? And then you want to go down even further. Is it sad? Or is it just sad? Or is it sad and tense and, you know, makes you feel uneasy? The next type of chord we're going to talk about is a tough one because it sounds similar to diminished. There's diminished. And there's this one. Ooh, both unsettling, right? What do we do if there's two unsettling chords? This is where it gets really difficult, in my opinion, between the four basic types of triads: major, minor, diminished, and augmented. Augmented is tense, right? But I would say it's more mysterious than dark. Like, that has a dark sound to it, and that's because it has a minor third in it. Actually, two minor thirds on top of one another. It sounds dark. If you play the augmented, it doesn't sound so much dark as it does like it's like a cliffhanger or something. It's just mysterious. It's, you know, it's just slightly different. Both are tense, and it will trigger you differently. The word trigger makes me laugh. But it will trigger you differently. Like, sometimes you'll hear it and you'll be like, oh man, it's a diminished chord. But if you think about it a little bit more, you can hear the difference and really hear the augmentedness of the chord. So let's play another augmented chord, so you can continue looking there. So I just played this chord and pretend like we were doing our normal thing where we're trying to listen what the difference is, right? Well, remember, first thing you ask yourself is happy or sad? Well, it's really hard to say, right? Right off the bat. It's really hard to say. It's definitely not that where it sounds really nice and stable. It has a tense sound to it, but I wouldn't say it sounds sad or dark either. It has somewhat of a brighter quality to it. So we're probably going more towards the augmented than the diminished. Now let me play one more. Now, when I hear that one, hear how it has a little bit darker of a tone to it. Notice also how the notes sound a little bit closer together. Remember, the word diminish means to make smaller, so you're actually making the intervals between the notes smaller, and when you're doing an augmented chord, you're literally making the notes, the distances between the notes larger. The word augment means to make large. So you hear that one and you hear, oh, well, maybe the notes are a little bit more spread apart. And then that one you could hear they're a little bit more clustered together. So let me play one now Now you're not allowed to look at the keyboard, or the screen rather. So let me play one. Now what would you say? Would you say right away, you can hear the tense, right? Is it tense? And it is. Now, is it bright or dark? Well, let me play the opposite of this chord. So the first one definitely had a darker sound to it. And it definitely sounds scary, more scary than mysterious. So therefore, the chord must be diminished. And if you got it wrong, you thought it was augmented, like I said, when you first start doing this ear training, it is very, very difficult, and you will get it wrong probably, unless you're, just really good at this. And don't feel bad. I got it wrong a lot at first too. And a lot of times what happens too, I want to explain about ear training, is that if you do ear training for long enough, say more than 15, 20 minutes, what will start to happen is your mind will start to mix up the sounds. It's a very strange kind of phenomenon. I don't know if you can call it that, but it's a very strange thing that happens. It's almost like smelling too many perfumes, like if you were, or even if you were like tasting wine, right? Especially with alcohol, because alcohol ruins your ability to taste anything really, or just makes it all kind of mashed together. It's kind of like that. I mean, maybe I should compare it to drinking alcohol, but anyway, what really happens, the point is that eventually your brain starts to mix all these things together. And if you were like, say, a professional perfume smeller, I'm sure there's something out there like that, you would start to get confused. You need something to cleanse your palate, whether it's in your nose or your mouth for taste. You need something so you can smell or taste again, right? So if you're tasting one thing right after the other, it's really, really difficult. Your brain just starts to mix it all together. So that's very common as well, to have more and more trouble as your practice session goes on. Oh, very good, Tim. Glad to have you. Glad to have everybody with us today. Okay, we're going to do a few more of these chords. So I'm going to play one. It's going to be any four of these chords. Now you have to look away. Now, what do you think? Now the first question, I said, first question you ask yourself, is it happy or sad? Well, it's definitely not happy. So that rules out the major. That also kind of rules out the augmented, because one thing I forgot to mention is the difference between a major and an augmented chord is one note, the top note. So they both have a brighter quality to them. Now I don't remember what the original chord, let's pretend like that was the original chord I played. But anyway, it has a darker sound to it. Therefore, if it's sadder and darker, is it tense? Right? That's the next question you want to ask yourself. It's not very tense. It's more stable, but sadder. So therefore, the chord must be minor. Remember that major, it has to sound happy, has to sound stable. Minor, it has to sound sad, has to sound stable. Like by stable, it means it doesn't make you feel tense or like you're about to jump off a bridge or something. But the other two are definitely tense. So diminished is tense and dark, and augmented is tense and maybe slightly bit brighter, more of a mysterious sound. You can definitely hear the notes are further apart. So remember to go through that decision process. Here we go. Here's another one. Don't look at the keyboard if you did already. Sorry about that. It's definitely bright, right? So it has to be major. I know it right away. So eventually you're going to get so good at these that you can get them without, much thought or much trouble. Let's try another one. Look away from the keyboard, please. So, right away, is it happy? No, right? Would you say it's sad? Well, maybe it's on the sadder side. Ask yourself, is it tense? Yeah, it has a tense sound to it. So that rules out major and minor, right? It's not happy, rules out major. Not tense, or it's not stable, it rules out minor. It has a tense sound to it. So now we're whittling it down between augmented or diminished. Well, the notes sound close together. Well, they could, right? Now let me play the opposite for you. Oh, yeah, you hear how that's tense too, but they're more spread apart. So therefore, this one has to be diminished. All right, let's try another one. Let's try one more. All Alright, look away if you haven't already. And what do you think? Like, just closing my eyes, listening to it. It sounds happy, right? Peaceful, stable. So it must be major. We already figured it out. Major is probably the easiest one to hear. And then as you drill down, minor and diminished is a little fuzzy, and then diminished and augmented is probably the hardest one to hear. And like I said, as you practice these, it will get more and more difficult to hear the differences. And if you want to learn a lot more about how to hear these chords, I have an ear training course over on my website, lessonsontheweb.com. As part of the Lessons on the Web Academy, there's a ton of videos as well as like printable examples and everything over there. So once the live stream's done, head over to lessonsontheweb.com. I really recommend it.